If I can save just one person, the 96 minutes that I spent watching the 90-day The Single Life Tell All Part 2, my work here will be done. That's what I want to talk about today. Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Debbie. I am the She in Sheality TV, and today I want to talk about the 90-day The Single Life Tell All Part 2. So I just finished watching this thing, and like I said in the intro, it is 96 minutes of my life that I will never get back. And that's all I can really remember about it. So I actually have to write down what I wanted to say in this video, because oh my God, it was draining. It was draining to watch. I'm not emotionally involved, but it was draining. It was a lot of they spend probably the first half hour of the show yelling at each other. Okay, so let me give you the highlights. If you're on the fence about watching it, these are the highlights or the lowlights, and you can make that decision for yourself. Okay, if you watch the TLC version, it's 120 minutes or 2 hours of your life that you will never get back. Think hard about that before you actually switch on that channel. All right. So as they start out, they're still talking about how Brittany isn't there. From the first part, Brittany isn't there. So what she did was they flew her into New York, put her up in a hotel. She stayed the night, and then in the morning she left, complaining about, whatever it was she was complaining about. We didn't find out until part 2, okay? So Terrence, this dude that Brittany has spent God knows how long ghosting, is actually on the show, and they get him to call her. So he calls her and he calls her and he calls her. She doesn't pick up. Finally, she calls him back. I'm guessing she's busy pressing and getting ready, because when she comes on the screen, she's actually all dolled up and she's like, ready to talk. So they're all like, well, why aren't you here? You didn't if she said that she was going to be leaving, that would be one thing, but she said nothing. She just booked a flight home, right? And so they have her on FaceTime or whatever it is that they have her on, and they're asking her why she's not there, and the whole cast is like, you know what? She says, oh, well, you know what? There was no one there to do my hair. The accommodations weren't what they said it was going to be, and blah, blah, blah. And then she goes into this whole, I'm having a hard time recovering from blah, 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 whatever. And the whole cast is like, I'm sorry, why the hell did we get up at the crack of dawn to be here? And she's getting now to do this from the comfort of her own home. Cut her off, hang up the phone. Like, you know what I mean? Like they spent way too much time, or I should say they gave her way too much time to explain herself. Shouldn't have allowed it. I would have just, yeah, okay, you're not here? Cool. We just wanted to know that you were still alive. Bye. Next. Right? That was it for Brittany. She went into a whole lot of song and dance about who cares, really. That was my general take on this show was who cares? Like the whole thing. Who cares? Next, they talk about Vanessa and Colt. So we find out that Vanessa and Colt are actually already married. That trip that they took to Reno or whatever, they got married while they were there, and they told no one, not even Colt's mom, Debbie. So she knows now, like she learned with everybody else, that they're married. But once, they get all that out of the way, they bring on Jess and her husband. Like, again, who cares? Who cares? Why are you digging up Jess and her husband? And they spend the next 30, 40 minutes yelling and screaming at each other, telling each other to shut the F up, and it literally gave me a headache. It was then when they're all done fighting, and they spend, like I said, 30, 40 minutes fighting. Debbie and Jess call a truce, and then Jess and her husband and Colt and Vanessa call a truce, so now they're all buddy. It's like, oh, for God's sake. Seriously? You can see, right, with this, I'll call it an episode, with this tell-all, you can almost see the puppet strings moving. You can feel the manipulation. Like it's just like so much happened in this show that will make you go, like, Why? Why? It's a waste. Then they briefly talk about Molly and Kelly and how Kelly wants kids and Molly can't have them and doesn't want them, and all the options that they could go through to have kids. And that, like, that's, it's a non-starter. They bring back Luis, Molly's ex. Again, why? Why did you dig this guy up from God knows where for what? And he basically just sits there and either he's lying or he's not speaking. So yeah, that was awful. It was painful to watch. The whole show was painful to watch. Let's talk about Fernanda very briefly. So we know that Fernanda moved to Miami. She's got a roommate who is a boxer of some kind. And she's let us know that they are not just roommates anymore. Big surprise. And then they bring Robbie on the screen. Why? Like, why? Let the man live his life. And Robbie says that he is single, which is kind of a surprise because this dude is a smoke show. So yeah, girls, Robbie is single. I don't know, whatever. And then we get to Ed and Liz. This is the part of the show that actually made me go, yeah, I'm not watching this shit anymore. Because Liz spends this whole last part of the show practically begging Ed to get back together.
Oh, let's go to therapy, and you hurt me, and
this was the hardest part of the show to watch. Liz begging Ed to get back together. This was like, yeah, okay, I'm whatever. And Ed saying that, I don't even remember what he said. Like, I had almost completely tuned out by then. And then Fernanda tells the whole room that Ed said to her, Ed hit on her roommate indirectly, like telling her, hey, say hey to your roommate for me. She's really pretty, blah, 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 whatever. And it's just like, what? Who cares? I don't give a shit about Ed and Liz anymore. I don't give a shit about Jess and her husband anymore. Why they even came back on, I don't know. These people obviously don't have shit else to do. But yeah, I'm like, okay, so I'm like done with 90 Day the Single Life. The show was getting bad anyway, but this was just like, oh, for God's sake, this was awful. This was like a funeral. This was awful. But that said, I am taking this show out of my regular rotation because I will not be watching it anymore. I'm not going to do any more commentary on 90 Day the Single Life. This was like getting a root canal, and I'm just not down with it. So let me know in the comments if there's a show that you want to see me do commentary on, or if there's something that you think I should be watching that I'm missing, because I kind of need a replacement for this. Ugh, this was awful. It was literally terrible. So if you haven't already watched it and you want to watch it, fair warning. And if you were kind of on the fence, I hope that this has made you decide not to watch it, because truly, you will only see it as 2 hours of your life that you are not going to get back. That's all I got for 90 Day the Single Life Tell All Part 2. My name is Debbie. This is Sheality TV. I will see you next time. Peace.